Right, so we have come to the end of the road, or almost the end of the road, and we're ready to wrap up what we have covered in the course. Here is the definition of product lines from the beginning. So I hope you now have a better appreciation for what this all means. When we talk about creating a set of software-intensive systems, we're talking about operating within a defined scope, and we talk about the common managed set of features. So you're going to identify what's common and what's variant across the proposed set of products, and you identify commonality and variability based on the chosen set of products, based on the segmentation of the target markets, based on the classes of users that you are trying to serve with your product, and you come up with this representation of a managed set of features that's going to be the basis for not just the products, but for subsets of features that can become the core assets used in building products. So the whole idea of a product line is this reuse focus that says we're going to create reusable assets, both software and non-software, to serve the needs of a product line. And in addition, we're going to provide some prescriptive guidance in the use of those assets, guidance in the form of the so-called attached process that accompanies each of the assets, and guidance in the form of the overall product line architecture that tells you how to wire the software components together. The software product line concept is not about reuse. It's not about creating a reuse library. It's not just a technical strategy. It's a combination of a business and a technical strategy aimed at making an organization a user of a systematic approach to reuse that contributes to the organization's bottom line. So there's a connection between the business and the technical activities, and if you don't make that connection, if you view it solely as an opportunity to try some new technology, it's likely that you will never get to operating a full product line capability. You do need to have the business connection, and you do need to have people at the right level in the organization covering the high ground of funding and organizational structure and management discipline. So we have tried to come up with some guidance for you to help you adopt and then institutionalize product line practice. We have the framework and we have the supporting practice areas that lie beneath the three essential activities of core asset development, product development, and management. We have some exemplars of organizations that have been really successful with software product lines. We don't have yet examples of organizations that have really screwed up product lines and wanted us to publish their results. I wonder why. Actually, it would be nice if we did have a case study like that, but so far nobody has stepped up to the plate. We have been able to synthesize some of the findings of our product line technical probes and incorporate those into the risks areas that you'll see in each practice areas. But we do not have a Harvard Business Review-like case study of product line failure. But bear in mind that a lot of the difficulties that people are having with product lines are not because of product lines per se. It's because of lack of basic software engineering skills. They just are not up to speed with architecture concepts. They really haven't done a good job of creating a business case for a line of products as opposed to a single product. So it's things like that rather than any inherent difficulty in software product lines. If you don't have the basic software engineering 101 skills already, you will need to strengthen and fill in those gaps before taking on software product lines. We do have a curriculum in software product line practice, of which this course is the first. It's also a constituent course of the software architecture certification. So don't worry, we will not charge you double if you also want to take the product line certification course. So in addition to this course, we have the Adopting Software Product Lines course and the Developing Product Lines course, which gets into more details of how you come up with an adoption plan and how you would work your way through the adoption factory and the ideal model, and how you would work your way in detail through some of the specific practice areas in the framework in the developing course. We also have courses for people who want to be team members and team leaders of a product line technical probe, similar to the ones that we have for the architecture evaluation, team members and team leads. So there is quite a bit of guidance out there for you coming not only from the SEI, but from organizations that are doing a lot of good work in specific practice areas and whose work is pointed to by the framework. So use these resources and take a look at the framework, take a look at your current organizational situation, and see whether or not your organization could benefit from software product lines. And as I say, there's plenty of guidance here to help you get started. Not complete end-to-end how-to guidance, but at least guidance in the form of how product line practices might differ from your current practices, pitfalls to avoid in the risks section of each practice area, and pointers to current work and current research in many of these areas. The difference between the product line approach and earlier approaches to reuse lie primarily with treating it as a business proposition as opposed to a technological proposition. So there is a strong business dimension to software product lines, and if you don't really have a good business justification for getting into software product lines, then you have to ask yourselves, why are we doing this? So you really need to think seriously about the business case that would enable you to recover any investment you make in coming up with a set of core assets and a whole production infrastructure. Use iteration as a way to get started. Do not do this as a big bang approach. Think of it in terms of a risk reduction migration approach from your current situation. Become an architecture-centric organization if you are not already, before taking on the job of creating a software product line. So look to that architecture focus. Do the necessary pre-planning and make sure you have people not only planning on the technical side, but also on the business and marketing side, and that there are people who are looking at the market climate and looking at what your competitors are doing, so that you don't go down the road of creating a product line that you can't possibly sell in the current market climate. And make that connection between what you do on the way of process improvement to any product development efforts, particularly a product line development effort that you institutionalize in your organization. Here is the checklist of success criteria for a software product line. What is the pressing need that gets to the heart of the business that would make you want to adopt a software product line approach? Do you have the necessary domain experience to do this? What kind of legacy base do you have right now in the organization that would help you get started with software product lines? And what's your current state of maturity with respect to architecture definition and architecture evaluation? What's your current state of maturity with respect to process discipline? Whether or not you've been assessed at being at a particular level on any measurement scale, you need to seriously think about whether or not your organization is capable of following through on any new organizational structures and roles and responsibilities that you introduce to launch a product line effort. What is the commitment of management And that commitment will typically show up, if management is serious, in the form of appointing an empowered champion to run this. Or if it's not a single individual, an empowered steering group to make sure that the product line is not only launched but also institutionalized in the organization. And part of the whole process of institutionalizing it is making sure that you maintain loyalty to the product line as a single entity. It's not just about turning out products. It's about growing and evolving this production capability from which you can spin off products, and maintaining that vision of a product line over and above the demands from your customers for changes or addition of new features to products is probably the hardest thing that new organizations find, or organizations that are new to software product lines, is maintaining the long-term vision of the product line in the face of requests like that from an existing customer base, which is why you need somebody at the right level in the organization to make this all work. So it is a combination of technical and business approaches, and it's centered on this architecture-centric approach. So if you're not already an architecture-centric organization, you need to think seriously about your software architecture needs before you can take on a software product line. And similarly, if you're not already at a reasonable level of process discipline, you will need to shore up some of those weaknesses. So the end game in all of this is not to create a core asset base. It's not to create a reuse library. It's to have an actual operating product line, have an operating production capability from which you can spin off products. That is the end game. And we have seen there are plenty of examples of success out there, some of which are documented in the case studies. Here's a longer list of organizations that have been successful in product lines. This is a subset of companies drawn from the Hall of Fame list and the product line catalog. So mobile phones, shipboard command and control systems. There's a Norwegian company called Aqua that actually does a product line of fish farm management software. So quite a range of applications of product line concepts in organizations, large and small. Some of them are global organizations with units in India, Singapore. So product line approach is independent of the size of the organization. It does require the discipline, the champion, the focus on the production capability, the line of products, as opposed to the single system at a time approach that was in place when some of the pioneers started. So no excuse for not giving it your best shot. Plenty of information, more case studies coming out in books and in papers. There are conferences and workshops. There's a greater recognition among many organizations, both commercial and government, of the benefits of adopting a strategic approach to software reuse. And there's a lot of guidance and pointers to further guidance in the framework to help you capitalize on this greater awareness of the benefits that can be achieved by a software product line. And also remember what I said, that even if you never get to the point where you're actually creating a full-blown product line, just having a disciplined approach to architecture and having a disciplined approach to your software engineering processes can bring you substantial benefits and better poise you to take advantage of what a product line could do for your organization. Here are some of the contributions that the SEI has made in this arena, and we have probably covered most of these here. Yeah, the simple model, the product line quick look. So we have the product lines book, we have the online framework, we have conferences and workshops, lots of opportunities to meet and share information about product line work. We also have some ongoing investigations into things like aspect-oriented programming in software product lines and product line production. We have at least one technical report in that arena. Yours truly is supposed to be coming up with another one, but has been fairly busy teaching courses. We're also looking at things like system of systems and breaking up the system of systems problem space into sets of related systems where product line practice could actually play a role in helping you grapple with the complexity of system of systems. And we're looking at things like service-oriented architectures and use of an open source type approach in a product line effort, and have already conducted a couple of workshops in that arena. We also, the SEI was asked to lead a team of people looking at this whole area of ultra-large scale systems. So the challenge was, right now the challenge came from the Department of Defense. Right now we are looking at multi-million line of code systems. What happens when we scale up to 1 billion lines of code and beyond? And one thing is for sure, you won't develop those systems a line at a time. And in fact, you'll need a whole new way of looking at those systems. So Linda Northrup was asked to head a group to come up with a research agenda for ultra-large-scale systems. And you can get this report from the SEI website. This is not a how-to guide, but it's an examination of the kinds of issues that really large-scale systems would have to deal with. And it covers areas. I have a table here from the kinds of research areas that they're going after here. So they are looking at human interaction, computational emergence, computational engineering, adaptive system infrastructure, and policy acquisition and management of these ultra-large-scale systems. So it's an ambitious agenda, and we are hoping that organizations will provide funding. The team was not an SEI team. It came from across the country. So it's a multi-talented team that came up with this research agenda that you can download from the SEI website. So the bottom line is that it can be done. Organizations have done it. They have quantified benefits to show from their product line work. They have been able to successfully enact many of the practice areas in the framework, even those organizations that starting off had no idea that the framework actually existed. The framework, in fact, is a codification of the kinds of good practice that those organizations already had in place. So you are in a much better starting point than pioneers like Celsius Tech, for example. So it can be done. You can make this part of your organization's bottom line business if you have the discipline and the leadership to follow through on the goals that were set for your product line effort. Any final observations and questions?
Do you see like more and more people doing product line approaches today?
Yes, we do, and we've had people like AcvaSmart coming to our product line conference of a couple of years ago and telling us that, hey, we're doing this for fish farm management software. The thing is, they're just reporting results to us and giving us a quick briefing. We're not actually collaborating with them to get an in-depth case study. And so far, we are pursuing a couple of organizations to do exactly that. But one of the difficulties you run into is that if an organization is really successful with software product lines, they don't necessarily feel the need to publicize it or waste any time dealing with the SEI in the writing up of a case study. So it's become difficult for us, for a couple of our customers, to actually pry a case study out of them. But we are always hopeful that with the word getting out and the conferences and the workshops, that we will actually be able to get some more case studies. But certainly we are seeing a lot more organizations, if they're not actively calling it a product line, they're doing a lot of things that fit exactly into the kinds of practices that you see in the framework.
So thing.
That's right. It isn't.
It's not,
You know.
not true or false. It's
No,
Yeah.
of course not.
Yeah. If you're becoming a services-based organization, you're already doing a lot of the kinds of practices that we see here. Anyone else?
Why this is part of the software architecture professional certificate program? Is there any reason to be?
Mainly to show you what can happen when you take your architecture skills to the next level. So architecture is not just about building an architecture for a single product. It's the basis for an approach like a software product line. So it's to make people aware that, you know, there are really places you can go once you've established an architecture-centric discipline in the organization.